I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you sporadically. Jarad, how are you, mate?
I'm surprised you remember my name. It's been a while. I'm good, mate. I'm good. Said it mostly over the last 3 or 4 episodes, but we're sorry. We continue to come at you sporadically, but look, to be honest, mate, we both are in the same boat. We're just busy with everything, and but I'm enjoying life, mate. I'm coming to the end of the winter season of sports, so or we're sort of at the tail end of it anyway. And so my busyness will drop off a little bit, but it'll be replaced with something else, no doubt.
Yeah.
But we're good. I've been good, mate. I've been good. The family's good. Everything's good. Work's good. So I cannot complain. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've been great too, Jarad. Life's been pretty busy for me as well. My whole work schedule has changed this year, so I started my own business and I've got a whole bunch of awesome private clients that I work with. So that's really taken up all of my time. As you can imagine, there's also admin on the side of that you have to do for yourself. But it's been really rewarding, really fun. And on top of that, my eldest son and I have started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
That's awesome.
So I haven't done a martial arts class in probably 17 and a half years or something. So
is he as good as you were, or because you're a gun back then, mate?
Yeah, it was a huge part of my life, actually, martial arts. And it's amazing what instincts you have when you grow up wrestling your older brother. So I learned a lot of that, wrestling older guys, just mucking around at school, and then, of course, playing rugby league and rugby union on the weekends. That really honed my grappling instincts. So I was up against a guy who was much more experienced than me, and I don't want to big note myself or anything, but I was in a position where he was much more dominant, and then the footy instincts just kicked in. And I just, did this really nice takedown. Essentially, it was a tackle, a rugby tackle, but it was like I hadn't skipped a beat. So it's amazing the things that you don't forget. All that muscle memory. So, but that's been really cool, really rewarding. And it's just one of those things that I hope that my son has as a memory when he's my age. He's like, oh yeah, I remember my dad was a bit of a beast at one point, because I'm going to be an old man and I want him to have memories of me doing good things, doing physically good things. He didn't get to watch me play rugby. He never saw me at my physical peak. So I hope that he's got just a few memories of me doing something kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's funny you should mention, watching, just being able to see Dad do something, like he used to do. Today, we're recording today, early morning Saturday, and today is actually back to Blacktown Day, which is where the rugby club does their, old guys come back, and I'm now an old guy.
Yeah.
And they're doing a little game between ourselves and there's a local club, our junior club, that kind of plays at the same field. So we're playing against the junior players' dads. So it's going to be a bit of a. So I think my girls are going to be there seeing me stumble around the football field for half an hour, probably doing more, making more errors than not. But it's going to be interesting because it's been 3 years since I've put on a footy boot. So it'll be interesting to see if I can still remember. But like you said, the instincts kind of are there, so I think I'll be all right.
Could you imagine transplanting your current brain into your 20-year-old body?
Oh, mate, I'd be better at the sport I picked, yes. But there'd be many more advantages though, other than just sport. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But the experience that you pick up, and by the time you I don't know, master it's probably the wrong word, but by the time you feel like you got hold of it, you don't need it anymore, or there's another, you got to learn more. But if you could just go back for that little bit, I mean, I'm sure there's been a lot of people think that through time, but it would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of it purely in the context of sport. But how good would you be on the field? The decisions you would make, just the understanding of the game would be so different. You see the world differently when you're older. And I think it would be amazing to, just be able to have the old body again. But alas, we don't. So we just got to make do with what we've got.
I know. I think about, like, I watch, you watch the sport and you watch the shows after it, and they do say that certain positions on the football field, the older that people get, the more that they're able to dominate in that role. It's just their body that gives up. But it's interesting now with sports science, like how long some of these guys are going to be able to go for. Like in the 80s and 90s, retiring from sport, was sort of early 30s. Like you're seeing guys now, if they're lucky, creep into that sort of mid-30s, later 30s. I think in our lifetime we're going to see guys in their mid-40s still running around doing things because of the sports science. I mean, what that has on the back end of their body, like what that does to them, 30 years later, I don't know, and I don't think we will know, but until that happens. But yeah, I think we'll see elite athletes being able to do things with their body, and they've got the mind. It's going to be a bit of a change in sport, I think, at some point.
I think it'll be worth it, though. I would have played on to, say, 45 or 50 and put up with, 20 or so years of a bad back, because it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, true.
A lot of these guys, they have dodgy knees from, way, way back, and they would have been like, so what's the difference, really?
Yeah, true. They got dodgy knees from, 35 onwards.
Yeah.
You might as well hold that off to 45, and then you've got an extra 10 years. Yeah. Yeah. Look, exactly. It's an interesting thing. But only time will tell. But I miss these chats, mate. I miss these chats. It's been too long between drinks, mate. But I'm already enjoying myself.
Yeah, same, Jarad. And look, I feel so guilty because I actually haven't even called anyone for so long. I can't remember the last phone call. I think it was actually just with you. But just so everyone knows, a couple of days ago was Jarad's birthday, so you can wish Jarad a happy birthday if you forgot. But I don't think I would have called you had it not been your birthday.
Yeah.
And that's the case with a lot of people. And one of our other friends whose birthday is just before yours, I think I was heading to work that day on his birthday. It was a Friday, so I just sent him a message saying happy birthday, and I just got one back saying cheers, bud, or something. And, I haven't actually spoken to him, and I felt so guilty because he's a school teacher, and during the school holidays, I didn't call him, but I actually didn't call anyone.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't want to, but essentially because the theme of our original podcast was two guys who hadn't seen each other for close to a decade because life just ran away from us. I feel like it's happening again. I've just been so busy. The only thing I've got that's really cool right now is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because that forces me to carve out a little bit of time a couple of times a week to be able to do something like that with my son. But otherwise, it's almost like it's just spiraling out of control. I'm just busy working and just trying to do a little bit of housework and, get the cooking done. But it's hard, isn't it?
It is. And I suppose we're touching on that whole, you're a little bit more experienced now to recognize it maybe before it becomes, like you're saying, it's spiraling a little bit. But you're recognizing it earlier than maybe you would have recognized it 10 years ago. So you can go, you know what, I need to have a bit of time for myself, for my friends, for some, whatever you might want to call it, that, and you're using that knowledge and experience that you've gained, but also touching that. I mean, obviously you're in a busy period, starting a new business and all that sort of thing is huge. And people do that at any times of their life, and they do go off the radar a little bit, because in developing, an income for yourself, you've got to give it all, right? Until you become, what's the word? I guess, able to do it without dominating your time. That takes a lot of practice and a lot of experience. So you're new to this, and
exactly.
I think friends and people in your life, should understand that, because I'm sure at some point they'll go through that. And, people go through those stages in life, when you have a newborn baby, you're completely committed to, that situation. So, you do, before you know it, it's 6 months and you haven't spoken to anybody, and you're like, oh, wow, and then you've got to try and re-emerge into the world. And, this business is your baby at the moment, so, don't be too hard on yourself, but I'm happy that you've recognised it. because I was hoping to, catch up with you guys soon, but in person again. But yeah, they're the type of things that you've recognised it. It's what you do now with that knowledge of recognition, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. And I have recognised I just haven't done anything. Like you said, it's what you do with that knowledge of recognition. And mine at the moment is just acknowledging it and sitting with it and just letting it be.
Yeah. But the timing's got to be right too, and you can't be too hard on yourself. Like, just because you've recognised it doesn't mean you have to pick up the phone today and go, I need to ring 8 people. Like it's almost like, okay, this is part of my future plan now. And I know it sounds a bit sort of, oh, you shouldn't plan it, but let's be honest, we have to plan these things. Our time isn't available as much as it used to be, and even when it was, we still don't do it. So now it's, you have to really make that effort to. And like I said, you've only got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the moment to sort of break that mold. I can only suggest, now you've recognised it, think about something else that you could probably do for yourself or your family or your friends or something like that will make your soul sing a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And for those who don't know, Jarad and I were hoping to have at least a 4 catch-ups a year. Every 3 months, we're hoping to catch up with 2 of our friends. Yeah. We had one. We were due for our next.
When was that?
It was a long time ago, probably March or something.
Was it really?
Wow. Yeah, and then we planned one in June, and your family was sick.
Oh.
I got sick.
Yeah.
And right. One of our friends was sick as well. And then it just never happened. So you get these tiny windows as adults to catch up. And unless you take them, they close very quickly, don't they?
They do, and I'll tell you, and a similar story. My family had a planned catch up where one of my wife's friends, his family, were going to come over, and we've all got to know each other now, so they're all friends. It's the basis was my wife and they were friends when they were younger, and now as we've all got families, we're all sort of connected as a friendship there, and our kids play. But we haven't caught up for a long time. And we had something planned, same sort of story. We had something planned in where are we now? August. So we had something planned in I think it was May, and one of their little one got COVID, and it was only a really small dose of COVID, but and they were like, oh, do you want us to, so we said, we'll just postpone. So we couldn't find a date until tomorrow, which is the end of July. To catch up again, to reschedule our catch up. So you're right. There's such a small window of opportunity to do these things, and when it does get cancelled or plans change for whatever reason, it has a really big effect, because you're like, oh wow, then that 3-month catch up turns into a 6-month catch up, and then it's not unheard of for that 6 month then to go, oh sorry, I can't make it. Before you know it, it's a year. And
that's it.
You're back to that same. But I mean, friendships are built around that, right? Friendships are designed. Good friendships, design's probably wrong, but good friendships should last through that, right?
Absolutely.
You hope that everybody understands, and the people that are in your village, I guess, for lack of better words, they're the ones that you trust to know. Okay, if I haven't seen you in a year, it's not that I don't want to, and I think it's I think it's across the board. I would hope so.
You think about the early days of a friendship, how much time you invest, especially for childhood friends, right? Because you're playing together every day at school, playing footy on the weekends together, that sort of thing. So that lays this very strong foundation for life. And that's why when you catch up with your school friends, it's so easy, because you've got that relationship set. And, you clearly are on the same page for many things. And I guess that's the key to a friendship. Get off to a good start. And I suppose know that you're on the same team. Once that happens, you're set for life. And, it's catch up whenever you want. And sometimes it's more than a year, I think. I've got some friends that were neighbours, and we used to see them every school holidays, because she's a school teacher. So school holidays came around, it'd be like, great, we can finally catch up because, you're not busy anymore. But I got busy. because of the way I'm doing things at the moment in my life, there's no such thing as a break right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've just had to forego those catch-ups, and you miss 2. Well, that's 6 months.
Yeah.
You miss another 2. Well, that's a year. So I don't think we'll be seeing them this year, to be honest with you. And that's terrible, but it's just how it is right now.
I guess you said in there that, it's because of you. I don't know if you meant to say it, but you said it was, because of me and because of my, schedule. I hope you understand that, and I hope people in the same boat understand, don't be too hard on yourself for that though. There's situations where just because it's because of your schedule and because of that, don't think that, it's your fault. It's part of life. The next time might be someone else's schedule and whatever. So I guess where I'm going with this is don't be so hard on yourself that you don't then call them the next one and feel, or you feel awkward because, it was, quote unquote your fault.
Yeah.
They didn't catch up the first time. I think that's another thing where people will just leave it. And then once you make that call to not call them, the next time around, and then that can lead to the next time around, that can sort of break up a friendship a little bit, and it's all because, you felt guilty. So as long as you don't go too hard on yourself and you don't feel guilty about it, just make the call, apologize, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you know what? To be honest, I don't think there's anything to apologize for. I mean, nothing's happened other than life just continuing on for everybody. And let's be honest.
I guess acknowledge.
Yeah. But look, let's be honest. I think a lot of us as adults, when a plan goes wrong and instead of going out to someone's place or whatever, you end up staying at home, I think a lot of us don't really care. I think a lot of the time it's like, yeah, right, I'll just sit at home there. Just relax. It's been a busy week.
True. And I think you're almost like, oh, okay, I can relax, yeah.
Actually, I completely forgot, Jarad. We're seeing someone this afternoon that we haven't seen. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I saw them. My kids don't even remember them. So it's been that long. But I think what happened was it's a couple, a family, and the wife bumped into Erica somewhere in the village, and they're like, oh, we haven't seen each other for ages, let's catch up. But without that coincidence, this would never have happened. And we also heard from a neighbour that I hadn't heard from in probably 10 years, just the other day. Erica just got a message from her saying, hey, you want to catch up? I was like, oh, really? Her? I can't believe it. I just, she hasn't even been in my mind.
Yeah.
It's that situation where you forget they even existed. I know that sounds terrible, but, you think about all the people you've bumped into in your life, and as your kids grow up, you meet so many different parents, in your case, from, school and soccer and all sorts of things. And then just to hear from someone out of the blue, it's like, oh, wow, they thought of us. Wow, that's interesting. But, so this afternoon, I'm catching up with people we haven't seen for a long, long time, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. And you know what, those chance meetings, maybe there's more to it, I don't know what people believe in, but yeah, it just seems like sometimes people come back into your life when you need them. You might not be that deep and in depth, but sometimes you need a little break like that. You've been working hard, and sometimes that's the universe going, here's that break, mate. You need that break, and that's awesome that you guys have taken that to the next level of spending some more time with that person and those people.
I want to ask you something else, Jarad. Who are we spending time with right now? So if you're not seeing your friends, is it just family? Because sometimes that's not necessarily healthy. I was chatting to a friend yesterday who referred to someone as her work bestie, and she asked me, did you have one of those?
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, and it made me realize how lucky you are to have some sort of social network through some sort of default thing like work or your jiu-jitsu class or your rugby club. Because without that, sometimes it's just you by yourself. And at the moment, me working for myself, I don't have colleagues.
Yeah.
So I definitely miss having the work besties.
Yes. I feel like we'll probably run out of time with this, but I agree. I think, it's a different, well, just to touch on what you just said at the end there, you need to be aware of that, and it sounds like you are, because it's we take for granted sometimes that interaction, that social interaction we get in those situations where we have to be there, I guess. So I know, like I do a lot of work on my own.
Yep.
But when I do have somebody with me, I'm not that much of a talkative person. Like, I know I've got a podcast, but really I'm not overly talkative. But when I get that person with me, it's like I can't shut up, and and I think that's me saying, oh, so good to have another human, like to socialise with, and especially if it's someone you respect and enjoy spending time with. That's just a bonus, Yeah, it's a tough question, and it shouldn't be a tough question, but like I found myself when I finished playing football, it coincided with around the COVID time, so it was probably magnified, but there was times there where it's just you and your family. And so when I finished playing football, it sort of coincided with COVID, so we're all isolated anyway, and it just really made you think, oh, like who can I call if I need to have a chat to? It made me call people, even if it was just to say how you're going, and I think everyone sort of who I called appreciated it. It made me plan things, little events with families and stuff like that. So yeah, look, if you recognise that moment that you're starting to feel like, hey, I'm only really one-dimensional with who I'm with, we need to spread our wings a little bit, then yeah, just it's worked for me. I recognised it, and I was able to reach out, I guess.
So Jarad, are you looking forward to going back to Blacktown today? Is that something that's been on the radar for a while for you?
Yeah, I've had it in the calendar for a little while. It's funny because for me, we've talked about this in the podcast early on, and I actually want to go back there, and I don't want to go there and have a million beers. I just want to go back there and just be around some of those people. Now, it's going to be interesting because I don't, like I say, I'm going to drive there, so I'm not. The idea is to not have a beer in my hand. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, and I'm going back with a little bit more experience and a little bit more wiser, and just going to watch the game of footy and have a little run myself, and enjoy it. So
that's amazing.
It's a big part of my life.
Will you have a full team there to play?
Apparently, I haven't organised it, so apparently there's enough for reserves and things like that. So there's going to be a few old heads running around and probably regretting it after 2 minutes.
That's one of my fantasies, actually, to play for Blacktown again, to go to one of those back to Blacktown days, golden oldies sort of things.
Yeah, right.
I feel like I've got a tiny window still, maybe another 5 years. Because I know
5 years.
Do you wear different coloured shorts or something, or you have tags on you to say how hard you can be tackled? No,
that's just a full-on game.
Yeah, right.
So that's why it hurts so much. But the timing's out. Everyone's dropping the ball. It's mainly just like a lot of scrums because everyone's dropping the ball and resets.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
You'll be fine. You'd survive.
Yeah. And you know what? That's what mental health looks like to me. When people get together in communities, that's the beginning of mental health.
Yeah.
When we think about mental health funding and that sort of stuff, we probably picture, psychologists and all these sorts of supports. But to me, this is where it starts. If you can build great communities where people have a sense of belonging, something as simple as a rugby club, that'll go a long way towards addressing mental health issues.
Yeah, I agree. We've got a lot. I could probably say a lot more on that, but yeah, totally agree with that because it's it's a friendly space, a familiar space. Friendly faces, things like that. go a long way in helping someone get through good times, bad times, whatever times, just regular times. You know, it doesn't have to be good or bad. It just has to be normal times. You know,
Yep.
it's a really positive place to be.
Absolutely. Jarad, thanks for catching up again. It's been so long. We'll have to catch up in
Awesome.
person soon. You know, our podcast mojo has to come back, but when we're this
We were a
sporadic,
little bit off today, aren't we?
yeah. But look, you know what? The main thing is we're still committed to our friendship, and that's the reason why we wanted to keep recording, so people know that, hey, you know what?
Really?
Sometimes it doesn't happen every week. You're not going to get the same routine all through your life. Life has its rhythms. The earth has its seasons. You know, things will happen when they're meant to. Things will happen when they're meant to happen. So right now for me, it's a season of small business.
Yes.
Podcast season is kind of off at the moment, but that's okay. We'll get back there.
We will, mate. We will. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jarad.
Thank you, buddy. Bye.